My name is Lott Zost. I'm a fourth-generation apple grower at Bonnie Bray Fruit Farms in Gardners, Pennsylvania. I'm roughly an hour and a half from Penn State, but I instead chose to go to Michigan State, go green, and they had a really great agribusiness management and horticulture program where I could get a lot of classes in both areas of study. We had a financial analysis class in agribusiness management that was tough to get through, but it was pretty important for learning all the basics of balance sheets and income statements, but also how to use that information to make financial forecasts to help you make decisions when you're betting a lot of money on turning the business one way or another. I think that kind of class is really useful for someone coming back to a farm. With extension and with grower meetings, you can learn a lot of the hands-on stuff on the farm and at those kinds of meetings. But really learning the nitty-gritty financial stuff, I think, is really useful to learn in college. First things I did was I got given the food safety handbook and told, here, do this, please. I think that happened to a lot of people of my generation. I had done a job in college where I did a lot of maturity testing of fruit in a post-harvest lab. And so I took that on during our harvest. I also took over some supervisory roles within our crews and started to learn some office, back-end, record-keeping stuff. We're slowly transitioning to more high density. Our highest density planting is 2.5 by 12, and I don't know, we'll go that tight again, but that you can see is 4 by 14, which is probably as close as we'll go most of the time, because as you can see, we have big hills, and it can be really dangerous to run equipment on wet hillsides. So 14 feet is about as comfortable as most people around here are, unless you have flat ground, which we had some flat ground, which is where we put those really high-density trellis in for ambrosia. I actually went to an IFTA meeting and met Canadian growers of ambrosia, whereas we had bought the trees but hadn't planted them yet. And we were gonna put them in at 4 or 5 feet, and they were like, please do not, absolutely don't. You're shooting yourself in the foot, don't do it, put them closer together. So I actually came home from IFTA in February, and by April we were planting them significantly closer and had ordered the tree posts and wire and dove into that all at once. Well, to plant a new orchard, we have to really plan out, what are we looking for in that orchard? Are you looking for high color fruit? If so, you're probably going to try to bring those trees as close together as you can. But you also have to work with the land. If it's a very steep hillside, it's unrealistic to try to put trellis on it in a very tight spacing. So then you're looking at what kind of apple can we grow on that kind of land. Honeycrisp could still be very valuable because even with spaced out trees, of course, honeycrisp is very valuable. And also with spaced out trees, you have room to get the light in and get valuable fruit off. Now that we're going to pick the ambrosias, something we wish we had done. Well, we put a wire at 3 feet and then at 5, which is necessary when the trees are small, but we wish we would have taken it out now before we pick, just so you can kind of, if you need to, sneak through. A lot easier. So for all of our other things, before we go to pick them in either the second or third leaf, I think we'll be taking out that bottom wire just so we can get through the orchard a little easier if we need to. So we're wholesale, we don't have a market ourselves. And I think if you have a market here, you do have an advantage that they can try the new variety and at least sell it within their market, or when they go to a farmer's market, sell it there and get a consumer. All they have to do is convince someone to try it. And all these new varieties are usually delicious. So if you have a farm market, you have the opportunity to have someone trial it and then they love it and they're a customer forever for that variety. On the wholesale side, it is tricky to know when to plant something and commit, because usually we're planting, 7 or 15 or 20 acres of something at once. And you really hope that works out and you get to sell it to grocery stores, because if 10 years later you've had a good crop for several years and the grocery stores aren't taking it, well, now it's going to the processor and going to juice, and you just lost your whole investment in that. And I think across the country there's been that big debate about club varieties and which ones are worth it and which ones are going to make it and which ones are any good. And everyone's trying to figure that out. So someone coming up within high school or early in college, I would say study whatever aspect of the business generally interests you, because that's where you're most likely to end up spending most of your time, because you'll be the person at your operation that has that interest and has therefore done the work to be in charge of that thing. I'll also say that I am the co-chair of the Mid-Atlantic Young Grower Alliance, and I really suggest that if you're in our area, join us. If you're in another area, look for organizations that target younger professionals in the industry, because we do tours to other farms, we host workshops geared specifically to the younger generation. So we try to hit on the timely topics that you're thinking about and worried about and working on.